I stood there in the rain, the cold drops mixing with the tears I couldn't hold back, as my sister-in-law's voice cut through the crowd like a knife. "She's been cheating on my brother for years," she announced, holding up what looked like damning photos. Her eyes locked on mine with that smug satisfaction. The whispers started immediately, eyes turning toward me, judging, pitying, as my husband's family closed ranks around her. In that moment, frozen under the gray sky, I wondered if this was the end of everything I'd built. Would you have spoken up right then, or let the storm rage on? The funeral was for my father-in-law, a man who'd always been kind to me in private, even as his wife and daughter made my life a quiet hell. We'd gathered at the graveside, umbrellas shielding designer suits and dresses, but nothing could shield me from what was coming. As the casket lowered, she stepped forward, turning a moment of grief into her personal theater. I remember the way her hand trembled slightly as she waved those papers. Photos, she claimed, of me with another man. The crowd gasped. My husband stood silent, his face pale. Why didn't he defend me? That question burned in my chest, pulling me deeper into the nightmare. But to understand how we got here, I need to go back. It started years ago when I married into the family. My husband, Mark, came from money, old money, the kind that builds walls around people. His mother, Evelyn, never approved of me. I was from a modest background, no pedigree to match their estate. From the beginning, there were those cold glances across the dinner table, the passive comments about my simple tastes. "Darling, that dress is quaint," Evelyn would say, her smile never reaching her eyes. I brushed it off, for Mark's sake, but his sister Laura was worse. She saw me as a threat to the family fortune. Early on, I noticed the small things. Laura would forget to invite me to family events, or whisper just loud enough for me to hear about how I didn't belong. Mark always downplayed it. "They're just protective," he'd say, but I felt the power imbalance every day. Their wealth, their social circle, my dependence on Mark's income after I left my job to raise our kids. One evening, years before the funeral, we were at their family home for dinner. Evelyn passed around a velvet box showing off the heirloom ring, a diamond passed down for generations. "This will go to the rightful heir," she said, glancing at Laura. I smiled politely, but inside, it stung. That ring became a symbol, a reminder of what I'd never truly have. As time passed, the tension simmered. My father-in-law's health declined, and whispers of the inheritance began. Laura started visiting more, always with that calculating look. I caught her once, rifling through his desk when she thought no one was watching. "Just helping Dad organize," she said, but her eyes darted away. I ignored the warning signs at first. A misplaced letter here, a hushed phone call there. Mark assured me it was nothing. But doubt crept in, like shadows lengthening at dusk. Was Laura plotting something? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on our family, our 2 kids, the life we'd built. Yet those micro moments built pressure, drop by drop. Then came the affair rumors. Subtle at first. A friend mentioned hearing whispers at a party. "Someone said you were seen with a man at a cafe." I laughed it off, but it planted a seed. Who would spread that? Laura, of course. She was always the one stirring the pot, her manipulations hidden behind a facade of concern. I still wonder if I should have confronted her then. Would you have let it slide, hoping it would fade? The escalation began after my father-in-law's diagnosis. Cancer. Aggressive. The family gathered more often, but the air thickened with unspoken motives. Laura pushed for power of attorney, claiming it was for his benefit. "We need to protect the assets," she'd say, her voice dripping with false piety. Evelyn nodded along, her eyes on me like I was the intruder. One night at a family dinner, Laura made her first direct jab. "I heard you've been spending a lot of time out lately," she said across the table. Fork paused midair. The room went quiet. Mark shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. I felt the humiliation burn. Small but sharp, like a paper cut that won't heal. I thought that was it, just sibling rivalry. But then the photos appeared. Anonymous emails to Mark. Blurry images of a woman who looked like me arm in arm with a stranger. "Is this what I think?" the subject read. Mark showed me, his face torn. "It can't be you, right?" he asked. I denied it, of course, but the seed of doubt was planted in him too. For a moment, I believed we could move past it. We talked, he seemed convinced, but Laura kept pushing, dropping hints at every gathering. "Families have secrets," she'd say, her gaze lingering on me. The emotional stakes rose, my marriage teetering, my self-worth crumbling under their scrutiny. Then the financial angle hit. My father-in-law revised his will, or so Laura claimed. "He's leaving more to the bloodline," she whispered to Mark one evening. I overheard, my heart sinking. Was I being cut out? The social humiliation followed. Invites to events stopped. Friends distanced themselves after the rumor spread. I misinterpreted it all at first. Thought it was just jealousy, but no, it was calculated. A false clarity came when Mark confronted me privately. "Laura showed me more evidence," he said, voice. I thought we'd resolved it, but the doubt lingered. Another mini misstep. I assumed Evelyn was behind it, not seeing Laura's full hand. The pressure built. At a holiday gathering, Laura accidentally left one of those photos on the coffee table. Guests saw it. Whispers turned to stares. My hands shook as I picked it up, feeling the room close in. Would you have walked out right then? As the funeral approached, the stakes escalated further. Legal documents surfaced. My father-in-law's will, allegedly altered to favor Laura. "He didn't trust outsiders," she said at a pre-funeral meeting, her words like venom. Financial ruin loomed if Mark sided with them. Our home, our savings, tied to the family trust. Emotional blows came faster. Mark grew distant, sleeping in the guest room. "I need time," he muttered. I felt isolated, betrayed by the one person who should have stood by me. Socially, the family circle tightened, excluding me from decisions. "This is blood business," Evelyn snapped once. In those final days, another false moment of understanding hit. I found a letter in Mark's drawer, from Laura, urging him to protect the inheritance from her. I thought that was the full plot, a simple grab for money. But it was deeper, more twisted. The humiliations piled on, passive comments at every turn, building to that graveside explosion. And through it all, that heirloom ring sat on Evelyn's finger, a silent taunt. I stared at it during those tense meetings, wondering if it held the key to their greed. The day of the funeral arrived, rain pouring as if the sky mourned with me. We stood graveside, the casket gleaming wet. Laura waited until the eulogies ended, then stepped forward. "Before we say goodbye," she said, "there's something you all need to know." She pulled out the photos, enlarged now, and a stack of papers. "She's been having an affair. These prove it. And Dad knew. He changed the will because of it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My world spun. Public humiliation, raw and unrelenting. Mark looked away, not meeting my eyes. In that instant, everything I'd endured flashed before me. The cold dinners, the rumors, the isolation. But as she smirked, holding up those forged images, I felt a shift. The question hung. How could she do this? But she had no idea. I'd known her plan all along. Months earlier, I'd found the real letter. Not the one she planted for Mark, but the original from my father-in-law's safe. I'd suspected Laura's rummaging and checked myself one night while they slept. Inside was his true will, unchanged, leaving a fair share to Mark and me, with a clause. Any attempt to forge or manipulate would void the tamperer's portion. The photos? I'd traced them. Laura had hired someone to Photoshop them, using old pictures of me from family albums. I confronted the editor privately, got proof. But I stayed silent, letting her build her web. Why? Because confrontation would have splintered us further. Instead, I set a quiet trap, alerted the family lawyer anonymously with evidence of her forgery attempts. As she spoke at the graveside, the lawyer was already in motion, papers filed. The affair was her invention, born of her own secret. She'd been siphoning funds from the estate for years, covering an affair of her own that drained accounts. My father-in-law had suspected, confiding in me during his last lucid days. "Watch Laura," he'd whispered. The twist reframed everything. Those cold looks, her guilt projected. The rumors, deflection from her own betrayal. The will changes, her desperate forgery to cut me out before her theft was exposed. I'd misinterpreted her motives as simple jealousy, but it was self-preservation, manipulation at its core. In hindsight, it was inevitable. The heirloom ring? My father-in-law had given it to me privately, weeks before his death, a symbol of trust. I'd hidden it, waiting for this moment. As the crowd murmured, I pulled it from my pocket, holding it up. "This is what he really left me," I said softly. Laura's face drained of color. The lawyer stepped forward then, announcing the investigation. Her portion voided, assets frozen. Silent justice, no dramatics, just the truth unfolding. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, hit that like button to remind yourself you're not alone. And subscribe if these stories of quiet strength resonate. There's more where betrayal meets its match. In the aftermath, the rain stopped, leaving a quiet clarity. Mark apologized, eyes filled with regret, but the damage lingered. We separated eventually, amicably, the inheritance allowing me independence. Laura faced legal charges for embezzlement, her affair exposed in court documents. Evelyn withdrew, her empire crumbling. I didn't seek revenge loudly. It came through patience, through seeing the hidden motives for what they were. That night, alone in my new home, I slipped on the ring. It fit perfectly. I didn't lose my family that day. I just learned who was never really there. And sometimes, silence is the loudest form of justice. What would you have done differently? Share in the comments. I read them all. Wait until you hear about the letter that changed everything next time.